Good day. Welcome to the video using BeyData Librarian's system reports. In this video, we're going to cover the system dashboards, the data inventory catalog report, the risk table report, and the system assessment and other reports. To begin with, let's talk about what we're looking at here. This is a BeyData Librarian installed locally on this machine, and it has only the test data in it. The test data that ships with every trial download or every new purchase. The test data was put in so that you could have an idea of how the system worked, what the data and the reports would also look like. Right now we're looking at the status dashboard, which you get to by simply going to the dashboard section of the home tab and selecting status. The dashboards have designed based on the principle that with a quick scan you can view what's going on in the system at any given moment. So right now with a quick scan we can see all the system tasks that are open versus completed, all the open versus completed tasks assigned to the login user, and more importantly, how many tasks were modified regardless of opened or closed. And this becomes important because a task doesn't necessarily get closed once it gets started on. Sometimes it could take some time to add information and go back and forth. So on that top row of the scan, you see everything about your task. In the bottom row of the scan, you see all the system assessments opened or closed, all the assessments that started in the current month, and all the assessments for the quarter. So a global picture of every assessment in the system to a quarterly picture, and then down to just a single month. The next dashboard we're going to look at is the team dashboard. Again, you get there just by selecting Team in the dashboard section. From this dashboard, you can first identify, do you have any risk as related to assessment and task? What this is basically doing is looking at a number that you set, and based on that number, it'll inform you if you have risk that you've defined based on the number of working assessments that your team can run at any time. And if you're running too many assessments, you may be in an area where you may fail, and you may need to get more resources. So this will come up right away. And then you can look, if you go to the right, you have task per staff member, and again, this is just sample data, and everything seems to be falling to the admin user here. And then you have access per staff member, who's been coming in the system the most, and again, it's the administrator here in this test data. The last report that we're going to look at, the last dashboard, is the risk dashboard. From this dashboard, we can see the overall risk per assessment, and if we select this chart down here on the right side, you'll see assessment by risk, and it'll give you the same thing in a tabular view. Next to the risk by assessment, we have risk to the individual by assessment. Now note, risk is calculated twofold, risk to the business and risk to the individual, and by selecting this chart, you see the individual risk per assessment. And then if you're running a lot of assessments, there's an average risk per assessment, and you can set a range here, a number here, that you consider dangerous if your average risk is running too high. And you'll be notified here on this tab. Let's go back to status where we started. And now let's move on to the system reports and take a look at what we have underneath the File tab. So when you click on the File tab, then click on Reports, and you'll notice two groupings of reports here. The first grouping is assessment reports. and the second grouping is other. And it's just what it sounds like. The top level is a set of reports by assessment, and the bottom level is a set of system reports. How many closed assessments are there? How many open assessments are there? What is the access that's going on here? And then a report where you can print out all the dashboards in the current system. Okay, so let's go to the assessment reports first. The first report you run into is the PDF report. The PDF and the rich text reports are basically the same. The only difference is the PDF report is immutable. So it's basically what comes up in the rich text report as a PDF. The second report is the HTML report. The HTML report is standard HTML where data and presentation are separated. And what this means is that you can change style sheets to match what you need, and you can change headers and footers to match what you want to see as well. The CSV report is basically a CSV file for use with Excel or anything else, so the assessment is all in a spreadsheet. The visual status report is unique to BeyData Librarian, much as probably the HTML reports are unique as well. And the interesting thing about the visual status, if you have an open assessment running and you want to know immediately, where is this assessment in the process? Where is it in the workflow? All you have to do is simply select this report, select the assessment that you're interested in, and now you can view where it's at in the workflow. Now, this is opening in a rich text editor, so you can modify this here, do anything you want before you print it. And if you take a look right now, it's the first question is being asked in the workflow. Okay, let me close this now. Let me close this. The next report is the HTML with the change log. This is a nice report that not only shows you what's going on in the assessment, but it gives you historical information on who has worked or updated the report. Let's go ahead and take a look at that report. There it is. On this report, we can look at each task and updates of who has updated it and what they have done. Please note that the header and the footer are simply HTML snippets that can be changed by the user to match their own company branding or anything such as that. Okay, the next report is the rich text report, which is just like the visual status. However, when running it, it just opens up in a rich text editor, and from there you can modify it as you see fit. The next report is the HTML with risk report. Now this report is an overall output of the current risk status. And let me go ahead and pull up that report so we can take a quick look at it. What you notice on this report is you have your question on what it's doing and what the collection is. Then you have a business risk and an individual risk and a number, and then a business risk and an individual risk likelihood and its total. At the top of the assessment report, you have a risk total of 187, which based on the settings is a low to medium risk. And then for each item, you'll see a risk total. This is just sample data. You would have a risk explanation as well, or whatever you require from the auditors. Okay, now we go to the Other Reports tab, where you have closed assessments, open assessments, access records, and the dashboards. So if I select the dashboards report, I'll have an output of all the dashboards as printed. Now let's take a quick look at all the individual reports that have been printed out before doing this video. The first is the dashboards. Remember, all that you look and feel, this is all a CSS file in the back and all templates that can be modified. This is the access report. This is what we like to call our system ID cards, so that anyone who needs to immediately know all the system contact information, where they're collecting data, the current status of the system. This HTML report is designed to print one of these records, right here, per page. This is closed assessments, and there are none. This is open assessments, the sample data. You have 3 of them, and it gives you the date started, the last modification, and the date completed. Again, this is all template driven. And that's the dashboard that we already saw. This is the assessment report with the change log. This is the risk report with the total risk. And this is just a sample assessment report from some of the test data. Okay, there are 2 other reports that we need to talk about. One that we just showed you is the data catalog report for your data inventory, and to get that report you go to catalog and you go ahead and you select print. And you then get your data catalog card. The next report is within the risk tables. Now the risk tables are where you store and find and keep all the risk associated, and also can people edit or not edit an item, can they define risk. And again, to get that report, you just click on that report and you get your risk report with all your settings per assessment or per template. All right, thank you for your time. That's an overview of the system reports in BeyData Librarian. We hope that you have found this useful. And again, if you have any questions, you can email training@beydata.com or support@beydata.com. Thank you very much.